From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 491. Today's show is brought to you by ZocDoc and Squarespace. My name is Myke Hurley, and I am joined by Federico Vicici. Ciao, Federico.
Hello, Myke. How are you?
I'm feeling real good.
And we're also joined by Mr. Stephen Hackett. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Federico. Hey, Myke.
Hello. I'm feeling real good because we just had what I think is like an all-time great pre-show for Connected members, where we spoke about the Yuzu emulator for Nintendo Switch, and we made some cases as to whether we think it is legal, moral, or none of the above.
We are lawyers now.
We are. Federico
has
been studying case law.
I passed the bar, and it's all thanks to you, Connected
I think
Pro
Federico
listeners.
said the phrase legal precedent 16 times during the 20-minute
So
pre-show, which you can get by going to getconnectedpro.co, sign up, support the show, and get some fun content.
Before we get to follow-up today...
Have some follow-up.
No. Hold on. I have a surprise. So I set a goal for myself in 2024, and we are going to start working toward this goal here today in this episode. In 2024, I want you guys, I think it's time. We've been podcasting this year for 10 years together, right? Mm-hmm. Is that right? 10 years? I want you guys to finally learn some Italian.
Oh, no.
I am tired of having to talk in English all the time.
Okay.
So we are going to start this process that will likely take months or years, but I want you by the end of this year to be able to speak at the very least some short Italian sentences.
Okay. Are you going to teach us?
Yes. So we're going to start with the very basics. The alphabet. Today we're going to start very small. I just need you guys to learn how to pronounce a portion of the Italian alphabet. Very, very simple. All right? And obviously, as you know, as in the next few months, we'll go deeper and deeper into the realm of the Italian language. All right. So, you guys are familiar with the alphabet, I assume? A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
I'm familiar with the alphabet's work, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, one of the things you should know about Italian is that we pronounce the letters as we say them, which this will make sense. This will make sense later on. You'll see what I mean. So, A, B, C, it's A, B, C. Myke, you go first.
A, B, C.
Okay, let's C, more like
C.
A, B, C.
A, B, C.
Okay, go Stephen.
A, B, C.
No, it's A.
Here's the thing.
No.
Okay, I think I can say this because I feel like the statute of limitations is up. I had to take a foreign language in college.
Okay.
And I really struggled. Like I was a good student, and I really struggled in high school and college in foreign language. I took Spanish, thinking it'd be the easiest. And it was so hard that my last college Spanish class, my wife, who was fluent in Spanish, did a large amount of my online Spanish work for me. It was an online class and did the bulk of it. And so,
well,
I'm just saying this is not my strong suit. So I'm going to struggle. I need some grace.
Don't worry about it. We'll get you up to speed. So let's try again. It's not A, B, C. It's A, B, C.
A, B,
yes.
C.
Yes.
Cool.
Then next three.
Oh, God. I thought we were just going to do three.
Are we doing the whole alphabet?
No, we're not doing the whole alphabet. We're just doing 6 today. All right, we're just doing 6 today, and we'll do 12 next time, and we'll go from there.
I love it.
D, E, and the next one is a bit tricky. F.
Okay. A, B, C.
Yes.
D, E, F.
Okay, it's D.
Not D, E, F.
More like F.
F.
Yes.
All
right. Go, Stephen.
What happens if Myke is successful at this, but not successful in learning Romanian?
I'm learning Romanian. I'm doing Duolingo. I'm on a 50-day streak.
Ooh.
Yeah. Take that.
What are the first 6 letters in the Romanian alphabet?
Oh, we don't do the alphabet. Like Duolingo's not alphabet. Like you're like learning to speak. You're not like learning all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Steven. D-E-F.
D-E-F-A.
Yeah. So it's not F-A, it's like F-A.
That
like
literally sounds the same to me.
No, you said F-A. It sounds shorter than it is. It should be F-A, like more pronounced.
F-A.
Yes. All right. So that concludes our very first short. We'll find a name for this segment, I guess. The 6 letters of the Italian alphabet. Thank you for collaborating, and we'll do this again next time.
I have a potential topic. I have like a segment name.
Mm-hmm.
Teach Italian.
Okay. All right.
Come on. Right? It can't be better than that, right? Teach Italian?
Yes, that's very good. Please, in your spare time, if you guys can, before next week, re-practice these 6 letters, and we'll go from there next week.
Follow up.
All right, so follow up. iOS 17.4 will indeed offer the ability for a developer to disable video reactions. It's in the release notes now. It says developers can control the default behavior of reactions. This is controlled per application, and user choice will override application declared defaults. So you'll be able to choose what you want to do otherwise, but you can have by default, you can say no, you can turn it off for your app, but a user can choose to turn it on if they want to. So that will probably help with that kind of stuff. That's
a good change.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing going on in 17.4, I think. I don't think there's anything else.
Yeah, I think so. Nothing else. We got some AI follow-up. First piece comes from Frederick. We were talking about Magic Eraser. It has been available in Google Photos on both iOS and Android since February 2023, but only for paying customers who have Google One. So if you want Google's Magic Eraser, it's possible to get it, but who wants to pay for Google One? You know what I'm saying? Anders says, with regards to the Apple research papers, we were talking about the strange formatting of them and the nothing being in line. Well, it turns out they are not using Word as we expect, but some variant of LaTeX. This is great for mathematical equations, but not so great for graphic design.
Isn't it pronounced LaTeX?
It is pronounced LaTeX. Yeah.
Well, then what's an X for? Why don't they put a K there?
It's like Mac OS 10.
Yeah, but no one's like
LaTeX.
Mac OS 10, are they? Right?
I don't speak Italian.
There is no scenario in which an X is pronounced with a cuss sound. Why would they do this to me? Then they made me like a fool on my own podcast.
Mac OS.
Mac OS. All right, I have now... don't come at me and be like, look in the chat, like, it's the Greek key letter. No, that is BS. That is BS. I will not accept that. No one knows this. I reject this. I'm furious now. Myke writes in to say, with the discussion on episode 490 about a 5mm iPad Pro, do you think Apple would make an iPad Pro without a camera? The thinness without a case is nice, but is ruined if it cannot lay flat on a desk because of a camera bump.
Do people really care about this thing with laying devices flat on a desk?
I had this thought, and here I am to jump straight in with my counterpoint. Drawing on an iPad. Like, it is a normal thing to put it down and use an Apple Pencil to draw, right? Like, on a phone, no, it's fine. But the iPad is maybe the only device where, like, it actually would make it nicer if it was flat. Like, realistically nicer if it was flat.
That's a good point.
Well, we all know photography is the main use of iPad Pros.
Yeah, definitely. Especially the 12.9 inch. It's really good to get a handle on it.
I got it. I can't believe we haven't thought about this before.
Okay.
Camera bump dongle. Okay. So you have it has a built-in camera, but it's really bad. But if you want a good camera, you plug in this USB-C thing. It's aluminum. It kind of wraps around the edge of the iPad, and you get a good camera.
You should make a Kickstarter for it.
I should.
Yeah.
Who needs calendars?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so mad about this LaTeX thing. I'm so angry about it because everyone in the Discord's like, all of my computer science professors. I don't care. Why did they put the X there? It makes me like an idiot, you know? Like, I don't like this. I'm really mad about this. Why did they do this?
As soon as I saw this follow-up, I realized, oh, yes, of course, they're using LaTeX. Like,
Yeah.
I wish I had thought of it live. That's my shame, not that I don't know how to pronounce it, which is weird because normally that's my problem.
There's an entire part of the Wikipedia entry for pronouncing it.
Of course there is.
Why? But like, I'm so angry about this. Because the thing is, right? Here's the thing. It doesn't look like the Greek character, right? Because it's an X, but like a weird X, and it's like drops down, right? It's just, I'm just so mad. I'm just so mad about this.
Shutan in the Discord with some beautiful Greek alphabet, which I can also read, by the way. That is excellent. I hadn't seen those letters in a few years.
And this is proving my point. It doesn't. If it looked like that, right? Like if the X in LaTeX looked like that, I wouldn't call it LaTeX. I'd be like, oh, something weird's going on here. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's an X.
Well, okay. Look, it's okay, Myke. Now you know it's LaTeX.
It's made me look like an idiot. I'm very annoyed about this.
Yeah. So the next time you gotta go out and buy something, you'd be like, "Hey, do you guys have any LaTeX suits?"
I have a LaTeX allergy.
Can we talk about showers some more?
Yes, Chris wrote in and said, I wanted to share that I use a MagSafe magnetic mount to hold my phone in the shower. And then I have an old set of Beats Fit Pro that I wear while showering.
Unacceptable.
I take them out at the end to finish washing my ears and then dry them and myself off. Look, gang.
What?
Just take 10 minutes where you don't have a podcast. Like, obviously, I'm a podcaster, right? Like, I want you to listen to our shows. You don't need to do this, you know? Like, it's fine. Like, just take a few minutes to think to yourself. Jeremy writes in to say, I too
hang on. We just can't blow past this.
No.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Chris, listen to me directly.
He's probably in the shower at the moment.
Chris, you need to order some new shampoo. Look, I'm a podcast. Look, I understand. Like, you need time with your thoughts. I have other times a day for that, right? It's the headphones. It's the earbuds in the shower that I don't like about this.
That's the problem. That's where it's gone too far.
I don't mind a good shower speaker. I think that's totally fine. Like I said, I've got one. It's the Beats Fit Pro wearing in the shower that for a couple of reasons. One, like, you got to take them out to wash your ears. They're wet. Aren't you going to drop them all the time? But even with a shower speaker, I can still, because my bathroom is tiny, I can just see when the door opens, but I can hear, right? I can, like, if one of my kids needs something, I can still hear them. With things in my ears in the shower, I feel like you're too isolated, right? Like, you need some connection to what's going on outside of the shower. And I feel like there's too much isolation here and it feels icky. And I want to send you a shower speaker, I think. Don't use Beats Fit Pro anymore, please.
Jeremy says, I too have the JBL Clip 2 in the shower. Jeremy felt the need to tell us that the JBL Clip 2 was blue. I also have a MagSafe ring on the shower wall, clear of water danger, to put my phone.
No, the phone stays outside.
To podcasts in the shower, I watch YouTube, Hulu, and stuff like that.
Hulu in the shower.
Only murderers in the shower, Hulu's greatest show. I'm okay. Look, again, listening is fine. The phone should not come in the shower with you. Right? This was the whole thing that started this 100 years ago when this topic started, before it took over our podcast. I needed a thing to be able to put my phone on the counter next to the sink. So I got the Nomad leather back thing, which I'm still loving, but it can't come in the shower with you. That's too much.
How did we end up here? Why is there a Temu.com link?
We're not putting that link in the show notes. I refuse to put that in the CMS.
Why?
Go to Amazon.
Why are we doing this?
I don't know. This is the last time. This is the last time.
I don't know if it is. I'm not done. The next piece of follow-up comes from Nick, who says, I am surprised, and this is hilarious to me, the word surprise in this follow-up. I'm surprised that the three hosts did not originally land on the same conclusion I did for podcasts in the shower. Okay. I use a HomePod.
Yes. What the surprise. Yes, the prestige. Okay.
Look, the outside, the fabric of the HomePod, it's like a loofah, right? Like, you're having a great time. Nick,
what about the electricity part of that? You got to plug that thing in.
It supports AirPlay, is voice controlled, and supports home intercom. Ideally, the white one looks best in the bathroom. Fiddling with a cheap battery-powered Bluetooth water speakers or balancing your iPhone seems barbaric. Now, I'm assuming, right, that the HomePod is not in the shower cubicle because I think Nick would be dead by now.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, look, all of mine were outside of the shower, and all 3 of my big ones are dead now. So
yeah. And again, like I will say, I don't have an issue with people listening to music or podcasts in the shower. For me, if you are going further than phone in the shower with you, which I'm fine with, or simple speaker, I think it's too far, right? Like I think when we're getting MagSafe rings and stuff like that, it's like we're gone too far using headphones. But this is the reason why. We got some anonymous feedback who said, regarding the dangers of phones in the shower, my wife is a manager of a HR company and twice in the last year has had to write disciplinary actions because employees have accidentally joined video calls while in the shower.
No!
After much deliberation, improper work attire was deemed the correct terminology for the offense. The offenders seem to have accidentally hit the camera button during an active call while otherwise occupied. What is wrong with people?
This
what is wrong with people?
This is so much worse than the video reactions in macOS.
This is why working from home should be illegal.
Wow.
If this is what you're doing, you have lost your working from home privileges. If you're supposed to be on a meeting and instead you're in the shower, no, you're not allowed anymore.
Well, look, maybe it was an unexpected call, right? It's not like, I have a meeting with my boss. Let me go get in the shower. I read this, someone, look, people just make Teams calls and Slack calls and you accidentally pick up. Don't take your phone in the shower. Just don't do it.
Don't do this.
Improper work attire.
Improper work attire.
Unbelievable.
Look, we all know. I'm on one today. We all know there are specific reasons to have your phone in the shower, right? And like, to be on a call, like if you want to be on a phone call in the shower, and that's good for you if you want to do that, but never in a work environment. You know what I'm saying? Not in a work environment.
Wait, what?
Look, if you want to take a phone call with a loved one while you're in the shower, like that's up to you.
Oh,
right?
sure. Okay.
Sure. You know?
Okay. Sure.
Maybe you're traveling. I don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
but that's on you.
Why can't people just, sing in the shower or something? Like it's, old school. Like just or be alone with your thoughts.
Yeah. I get great thinking done when I'm in the shower.
Me too.
Yeah. Great thinking.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going to think about how upset I am about latex. That's what when I take my shower this evening, that's what I'm going to be thinking about.
Evening shower.
I'm not going to be able to get this out of my head. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so
You know
angry.
what I once read about the creator of the latex syntax?
He pronounced it GIF, I believe.
He's a very tall guy. So.
Oh, yeah. Taller than me?
Possibly.
I expect, right? Yeah, taller than me.
Possibly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Apple Music.
In the shower.
A good use for a shower speaker is Apple Music. Federico, tell us about this new feature and then tell us what it lacks.
Yeah, so today Apple Music started rolling out this new mix. It's called the heavy rotation mix, which is different from previous heavy rotation things they have done. Heavy rotation, I believe, used to be or still is a section of the home view. This one is one of their algorithmic mixes. However, unlike their previous mixes, such as the what's it called? A new music mix, my favorites mix. Do they have also one called like my friends mix and my chill mix or something?
Yeah, there's friends mix, chill mix. I think there's like some kind of like workout pumped up.
Yeah, get up, feel good something mix.
Heavy rotation. You said that one. I got my station, my Discovery station.
So those are the radio stations, which are different from mixes. Mixes are basically
Get up mix.
Get up. I told you, get up, feel good.
Chill mix.
Chill mix. So heavy rotation mix is a collection of songs you have put in heavy rotation, supposedly from the past 24 hours. Because this one is the first algorithmic mix to be refreshed on a daily basis. I think it's a good idea. Spotify has been doing lots of daily mixes for years now, of all kinds. So Apple Music now also doing a daily mix. I think it's a good idea. The one thing I noticed, which I believe is a bug at the moment and it needs to be fixed, is that this heavy rotation mix, I can say for certainty that for me, it picked up songs that I listened to while I had enabled a focus filter that turns off music listening activity. So if you recall, that was a feature that was rolled out in 17.2 or 17.3, the ability to create a focus mode with a focus filter for Apple Music to say, when I'm listening to music and I'm in the sleep focus or I'm in the driving focus or something, do not count this music activity against my recommendations, against what people will see that I listen to and all that sort of stuff. But in this heavy rotation mix, I found my sleep music, which is the music I listen to when I go to bed. And I don't want that to count against my recommendations, and yet it ended up here. So hopefully the algorithm will be fixed here, not to count those songs, but otherwise I think it's a good idea, and it's just maybe about time for the music app to get some sort of refresh, because that section of mixes and stations is getting kind of confusing right now with all these options. Spotify has a dedicated page, for example, for all your algorithmic mixes. Here they're just sort of put in a section of the home tab, and maybe there could be a better design to collect them all.
We see in the Discord from Jen, there is a singing in the shower playlist from Apple Music.
There you go.
That's a playlist that exists too, if you want that.
Yeah.
Is this a matter of Apple not remembering all the features it has?
I think so. Yeah.
Because this happens. Actually, it happens quite a bit. Look at the sports app, like no live activities, no widgets, no iPad or Mac support. Like I understand with something like that, they wanted to get it out for the beginning of MLS play, and it was Eddie Q's baby, so it got fast tracked, it seems. But something like this is like, well, the music team supports these other features. It kind of rubs me the wrong way for a company that prides itself on the details, you know?
Yeah. So, hope it gets fixed, but otherwise, I think it's a really nice feature.
The other thing I'll say here is, does it matter if this is the heavy rotation, this is music you listen to a lot, like, wouldn't that be fine to go back into your history and everything because it's music you've already listened to a bunch? It's not like you're off exploring something new and you don't want to accidentally be labeled as, someone who listens to a type of music you don't.
Well, no, but if, for example, my kid likes to listen to the Frozen soundtrack 20 times when we're driving, would you consider that a heavy rotation for me?
Okay.
Like if there's a setting, you should respect that setting.
I agree with that. I didn't know, since this playlist is like an amplification, but yes, I see what you're saying now.
Or if you you listen to a piece of music on repeat for 4 hours while you're writing, like, it's not like you always want that to show up when you're like jogging. It's like a different thing for some people, I guess.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by ZocDoc. You shouldn't have to feel awkward talking to your doctor. The good news is ZocDoc is the place where you can find and book doctors who will make you feel comfortable and actually listen to you. We're talking about tens of thousands of doctors here, all with verified patient reviews, so you can make sure they're the right fit before you go meet them in real life. Because with ZocDoc, you've got more options than you know. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare highly rated in-network doctors near you. Instantly book appointments with them online. It's so easy. Once you find the doctor you want, you can book them immediately. No more waiting awkwardly on hold with a receptionist. And all these docs have verified reviews from real, actual patients. We're talking about booking appointments with tens of thousands of top-rated, patient-reviewed, credible doctors and specialists. You can filter specifically for ones who take your insurance, are located near you, and treat basically any condition you're searching for. The typical wait time to see a doctor booked on ZocDoc is between 24 and 72 hours. That's it. You can often even score same-day appointments. I actually just had my physical a couple of weeks ago, and I was reminded of this very thing, how important it is to have a doctor who you're comfortable with. You can talk to them, sometimes about weird stuff, and they're going to understand and get you. I struggled with that for years and finally found a great physician, and with ZocDoc, you can too. Go to ZocDoc.com/connected to download their app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/connected. Our thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring the show and Relay FM. Our friend Greg Pierce of Drafts fame has
latex.
I think Drafts probably supports it.
Probably.
New app called Simple Scan, and it's great. This all unfolded on Mastodon. Greg said he needed something to scan some things. He wrote a little app, and I and a bunch of other people told him, please make this an app on the App Store. So yes, you can scan documents into Apple Notes. Yes, you can scan in the Files app, but there are other times that you want to scan something and you want to just send it as an email, or maybe you don't want to open the Files app because it makes you sad. And Greg's Simple Scan app does just that. There's a handful of options. You can set your format to PDF or images. You can turn OCR on or off, and there's some other things you can do, like set up custom email destinations, like scan this and send it to Federico. I think this is awesome because Apple's solution is good, but a little bit limited. And this, like coming from Greg, who makes drafts, this is just drafts for scanning. Like you open it and you pick your destination, yes, and then you scan your thing. And I'm glad he built it because a lot of third-party scanning apps have felt icky over the years, like with business models, or like the one my wife uses. I forget the name of it. And she likes it, so like it's fine, whatever. It syncs with iCloud, but it's like a whole document library inside the scanning app. I'm like, that's fine, but for what I want most of the time is like scan something to email it to somebody, which I do. I have to do a fair amount for work. You know, I get a scary letter in the mail. I scan it, send it to our CPA, and he says, no, you're getting scammed. Don't answer that or whatever. That sort of use case is pretty common for me. And so I signed up for this immediately. It's $4.99 a year or $20 lifetime. Greg has a long history of building excellent iOS apps. And I was like, yeah, lifetime. Like, let's go.
Yep,
this is now on my phone.
I love this idea because it's like it's the kind of utility that doesn't do anything revolutionary. It's just a much more intuitive and simplified version of a feature that exists elsewhere. And here it's being made like a dedicated utility that does just that. And if there's one piece of feedback that I could sort of file on the show, I would love to
use it in the shower.
No, I don't scan documents in the shower, but I would love to create. Hey, maybe somebody out there is like, no, I do it all the time.
I'm
do it all the
convinced
time.
now one of our listeners scans their documents in the shower.
Well, look, you need the humidity to smooth the paper out. Now, you got to work fast, though, which is why this is a good product, because some of these other scanning apps are slow. And this thing is just like, you got to get in there just as the paper is smooth, but not ruined.
Yeah, that's why you need Simple Scan, because it's so fast.
That's right.
It's shower proof. No, but I would love to create favorite folders so that the next time I scan something, it should always go to like my scan documents folder in iCloud Drive.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can do on iOS. You can pick a folder beforehand that sort of becomes a bookmark of sorts. And then the next time I scan, the app would save the PDF directly inside that folder without me having to pick that folder manually every time. So that would be nice to have. But yeah, I think a really cool example of a developer looking for something that didn't exist, builds it for himself, becomes a product for sale. Really nice story, I think.
Every time someone says Simple Scan, I hear Simple Plan. That's where my brain is.
Do you ever feel?
Exactly.
Let's
talk about.
I saw them live in Viterbo when I was 15.
I that's wild to me that they made it out to you. Like a punk band from Canada.
Welcome
just find their
to
way
my
to Viterbo.
life. Yeah.
Let's talk about PWAs in iOS 17.4.
Okay.
This is a topic I have brought to the show today because I think I'm in a bit of a spicy mood today. I think it's all to do with latex. So, as part of the changes coming in iOS 17.4 in Europe to comply with the DMA rules, Apple has removed the support in Europe for PWAs on the iPhone. PWAs, progressive web apps, or as I think of them, programs of attitude.
Yes.
That was one of them. I loved it. And they have a new attitude. Essentially, what this allows you to do is add a web app on your iPhone to your home screen, but then it acts like an app. So when you tap on the icon, it opens full screen. It looks like an app. It doesn't have like web browser Chrome around it. Yeah. And then over time, they've added features like push notifications you can receive from PWA, and it has some form of reliable storage. So the app remembers states. It has data like an app would, like a native app. The PWA does as well. But in 17.4, Apple has removed the additional functions that a PWA can have on the iPhone, essentially reducing it back to being like a bookmark to open a web page in your chosen browser. Many people in the community are upset about this and believe that Apple is doing it to make the experience, to make PWAs a worse experience than using an app. Right? I'm seeing this spoken about a lot. The term malicious compliance has been used to describe what Apple's been doing. That Apple is using the DMA as a cover to remove PWAs because there is a feeling that, like, I think in like the PWA community that Apple doesn't want them to exist because it allows for a new form of distribution of applications with Apple taking no money from them, right? Where it's very clear Apple wants money from all apps. Apple have given the following statement on this. I'm going to quote from 9 to 5. Apple explains that it would have to build an entirely new integration architecture that does not currently exist in iOS to address the complex security and privacy concerns associated with web apps using alternative browser engines. This work was not practical to undertake given the other demands of the DMA and the very low user adoption of home screen web apps, Apple explains. And so, to comply with the DMA's requirements, we had to remove the home screen web apps feature in the European Union. EU users will be able to continue accessing websites directly from their home screen through a bookmark with minimal impact to their functionality, Apple continues. That part is not true at the end. Like, that's just not true. Like, the functions are being removed, like the storage, the push notifications. Like, I don't know what everything else in that statement reads fine. I don't know why they said that part at the end. As you would imagine, complaints on this have been made to the European Commission, and they say that they are looking into it. What do you boys think about this?
I don't understand, and maybe you guys can explain this to me, why the feature had to be taken away because of the DMA.
So I have a thought on this, and like I've done a bit of reading on this. Essentially, so they had to take it. Well, Apple was saying they had to take it away because they are not going to do the work to allow, say, Chrome and Mozilla to do this. Like, if you choose Chrome as your default browser and you get the browser ballot, you then can't use WebKit from Apple, right, to power the PWAs. That's kind of the thinking. And it seems like Apple is not willing to do the work to allow for PWAs to work no matter what type of browser you use. That's a decision that they have made. And I think they've then had to remove it because then Safari would have this feature and it would have an edge over Chrome, right? It would be better than Chrome, right? So if you stuck with Safari, then you could have PWAs. But if you chose Chrome, you can't. So I think they have to neutralize the impact. Like, they're not actually allowed to have one web browser be better than any of the other web browsers.
Is that codified in the DMA? That
I think I've read that that's the case. Like, they can't allow for benefits to Safari over Chrome. Like, they have to neutralize them, right? So this is from 9 to Mac. The DMA requires that all browsers have equality, meaning that Apple can't favor Safari and WebKit over third-party browser engines. Therefore, because it can't offer home screen web apps for third-party browsers, it also can't offer support via Safari.
I don't know. Just okay. Thanks for that. It just seems. My thought is that it seems a bit odd to me that you go to such great lengths to build all these features that the DMA required you to, and the one thing you fail to implement is arguably something that would have allowed a lot of web apps to be used locally on an iOS device in full screen with Apple-like behaviors and features. Like, it seems a bit odd.
Yeah, but if that was the case, then why do PWAs have any support currently, like in the rest of the world?
What do you mean with that?
Well, like PWAs work everywhere else. It's not like they've gotten rid of them everywhere else. So like that threat still exists in other places.
Sure.
So like if that was the case, then like why did they introduce them in the first place and have made them better over time if they don't want them to exist?
Right. And so if they want them to exist, why didn't they build it?
I genuinely... Okay, so I am taking Apple's comments at face value that like there is a minuscule percentage of users are actually using this feature and they had to build so much, they deprioritized it.
So they didn't have time, basically.
No, it's not time. They didn't want to do this work. Like, that's how I look at it. Of like, they had so many things to do, they didn't want to do this. I hope they will do it. Like that they haven't done it now.
So if Apple is not maliciously complying here, I think they could have just said, look, we deprioritize this. It's coming later, but we are gonna do it. Case closed. Like, unless there's something else.
They don't make those kinds of statements, right?
But now you just caused a lot of controversy and the EU to look into this again.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it's not like they haven't caused enough controversy in the EU looking into things with even just their response to the DMA. I think it is a shame to remove them from Safari. Like, I think it's a shame to move them at all, but I do believe that the usage of PWAs on iOS is really low. Like, I do believe this to be the case.
But why is that low? Like, yeah, I think you're right, but also arguably you could say that it's being low because Apple has been very slow to adopt modern PWA features.
I just don't think people are
it's that sort of problem. It's like the chicken and egg problem where like, yeah, adoption is low because really like, you only recently they like, was it last year that they added support for push notifications?
Yeah, it's 16.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that usage is low because obviously you always pushed for the App Store instead of the web. Like, so yeah, not a shocker that usage is low.
That is a very good point. There is one thing I wanted to just mention here. That, like, a lot of people are calling PWAs the biggest threat to the App Store, which is why Apple's getting rid of them. Like, I'm seeing that term used a lot. Which is, I mean, it's funny to me because, like, I think the biggest threat to the App Store is alternate app stores, which is what's happening in the countries where places where PWAs have been removed.
I think the biggest threat to the App Store is Apple itself.
Hey, love it. Yes, I love it. Like, look, I find this whole thing to be, I can see why people are frustrated about it. I personally take Apple at face value here. That, like, it's a small percentage of users that use it. They haven't done it, and that's that. Like, I want them to do more, but I don't see this as like some mastermind scheme to neutralize this like oncoming threat.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think you're right. I don't think that either. But as with many other cases of Apple in the press, I think sometimes they just have a bad way to get their message across.
Yeah. Because I expect somebody is probably working on this. Like, someone at Apple is probably working on this. They could just say what you suggested, right? Like, we're working on this, but it is not going to make 17.4. And to comply, we've had to remove it.
They do it for other things. I mean, Tim Cook literally said we're going to have AI features later this year. They pre-announced their accessibility stuff weeks before the OS is unveiled. It wouldn't kill anyone to say, yeah, we're going to do this, but it's coming later. Like, it's no big deal. It's not like they are unveiling the next, Apple hardware or something. Like, just say that it's a feature coming later and nobody gets upset. I don't get it.
They want your money, that's for sure, right? And they will do anything that they can to get the money. But I don't feel like that's what's going on here. Like, I really don't think they're removing PWAs because they consider PWAs a threat. Because if that was the case, why do they exist outside of Europe?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I think you're right. I don't think they're doing this maliciously. The timing makes you think that, makes you skeptical. But if you consider how they're still available, outside of the EU, I think you make a good point.
And I think the company culture right now, they are so begrudgingly doing this, right? Like, they are so begrudgingly going along with the DMA. I think that they are doing the bare minimum amount of work.
Right.
That they have to do, and the easiest way to deal with the PWA thing is just to turn it off, than to build a function for Mozilla and Google and Microsoft to have their own PWAs on the iPhone.
Yeah.
So they're just doing that. Like, I wouldn't call it malicious compliance in this scenario. It is like bare minimum compliance is what Apple is going for with this specific thing, I think. That's my read on the situation anyway.
It's like a mom, I don't want to brush my teeth compliance.
Yeah, and so instead you just like take the brush, don't even put toothpaste on it, just water, one in, one out, done. That's it.
Yep.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. You can stand out with a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything. Products, services, and even content. I love building on Squarespace. In fact, I've been building a couple of sites for our friend David Smith on Squarespace, and it is so easy to get something that looks and performs so well. They have Fluid Engine, which is this next generation website design system they have. You can start with a template, customize everything with drag and drop, and really build what you want. And if you want to send email campaigns, you can do that too. You can encourage visitors to sign up as email subscribers and start them on the journey to becoming loyal customers. And of course, all that branding goes along with your email campaign so they know it's coming from you. And the built-in analytics track all of this. So you can see how your website's performing, how those email sends are going. And it's really easy to understand what's going on. A lot of analytics packages out there are confusing. Squarespaces are great. Like I said, I've been busy building a couple of websites for Underscore on Squarespace. A new one for Widgetsmith, a new one for Sleep++. Got a third one on its way for Pedometer++, and it is great. One of the best things about it is the new asset library. It's got a lot of screenshots and pictures to deal with, and it's all really easy to manage this stuff, and it's all in one place. So go to squarespace.com/connected for a free trial and use the code CONNECTED to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain name. That's squarespace.com/connected and the code CONNECTED when you decide to sign up to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for the show. Our thanks to Squarespace for their support of Connected and Relay FM. We now come to a sad moment in the podcast where we say goodbye to a project that we have talked about just about the whole run of this podcast. I went back, and we'll get into this. I did some history digging through what was once called Project Titan, which was Apple's initiative or initiatives. I think it was more than one, looking into, at some point, some combination of an electric vehicle, a self-driving vehicle, and or software to run a self-driving vehicle. At one point, they weren't going to make hardware. Other points, they were hiring people who knew how shocks and brakes worked. So the big news is, I'm sure people have seen this, Mark Gurman reported on Bloomberg that Apple has canceled its, quote, decade-long effort to build an electric car. So this is what Gurman said. This is a quote. The two executives told staffers that the project will begin winding down and that many employees on the car team, known as the Special Projects Group, or SPG. This is me now speaking, not Gurman. Project Titan was a pretty cool name. Special Projects Group, pretty boring. So those employees will be shifted to the Artificial Intelligence Division under Executive John Ginandrea, who we spoke about last week. Those employees will focus on generative AI projects, an increasingly key priority for the company. A side effect of this seems that our boy Kevin Lynch is now reporting to John Ginandrea as a result of this.
Is he our boy?
He seems like a cool guy.
Boy? I don't know, he seems like a cool guy, but like
Kevin's our boy. Yeah,
Okay.
I could see Kevin coming out, for dinner with us, having a good time.
Right.
Kevin's
I
our
have
boy.
nothing against him. I just wasn't sure if I missed a thing where he became our boy.
Kevin's got our sort of vibe.
I think he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember he showed up at a keynote with long hair all of a sudden? It's like, let's
Yeah.
go.
Special project. That was his special project.
Yeah. He knows about special projects. So
okay.
A little history for you, because I started looking at this and I was like, okay, we've talked about this literally the entire run of our podcast. And I just had forgotten how much had happened. So just give me a second. Project Titan was kicked off in 2014 with approval from the newly minted Tim Cook. And Tim Cook had only been in charge about 3 years at this point. This was right at the same time the Apple Watch was announced and coming out. So about that time frame. Apple was rumored at the time to have hired Johan Jungwirth, a former president and chief executive from Mercedes-Benz R&D North America. So out of the gate, hiring car people, right?
Okay.
Then in 2015, I had forgotten about this and I reread it, like fell out of my chair. In 2015, Apple board member Mickey Drexler told an interviewer that Steve Jobs had a car on Apple's radar. This is a quote. Steve Jobs, if he had lived, was going to design an iCar, said Drexler. I think cars have an extraordinary opportunity for cool design. What a sentence. What a sentence. iCar. It's a different time, different, now it'd be Apple Car Pro. Later that year, Apple started taking meetings with the state of California over self-driving regulations, thinking that they were going to be putting tech onto the roads at some point, wanted to make sure the state of California was all that was up to speed. In 2016, Bob Mansfield returned from retirement.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Came back from retirement to lead Project Titan and was given a, quote, fall 2017 deadline to report to Tim Cook if the project was viable. So this is a couple of years in. Maybe there's not much to show for it.
As you go through this, it seems like maybe Bob blew through that deadline.
Yeah. That was 2017. It's now 2024, in case you've been asleep for 5 years. Bob Mansfield previously had been involved with Apple's other hardware products, right? Like he was in a bunch of videos about MacBook Pros and stuff. So he had the chops, came back. I'm not sure what happened here, but we blew through 2017. And about this time, like the AI stuff we spoke about on our previous episode, about this time, research started coming out from people at Apple about self-driving cars, about LiDAR systems, camera vision, computer vision, that sort of thing. So there was work going on, sort of academic work in these areas that very clearly was going to be tied to this product. In January of 2018, Apple registered about 24 self-driving cars with the state of California. The pictures of these were all over the place. They weren't Apple cars, right? There were like some vans. I think there were some like Lexus SUVs, I think, if I remember correctly.
They had Jaguar? I think they were using Jaguar.
Maybe. All white, of course. And then a bunch of sensors and stuff on it. Other companies have done this a lot, so. Also in here, I didn't put it in my notes, but I read it. Also in here, there was like a lawsuit about a guy who left Apple and apparently stole a bunch of like self-driving data. That happens all the time in these car companies. It's wild. In 2018 and 2019, Apple was meeting with a bunch of car companies. And this is not the only time. This was a time period where looking at, people reporting on this, looking at LinkedIn and looking at job postings, Apple was hiring people with like car suspension engineering work under their belts.
I think this was when it was also rumored that they were going to buy Kia.
This was in there too, because they were also in South Korea a bunch talking to Kia and other companies about manufacturing and maybe a purchase.
Which at the time seemed silly, but now
Kia's killing it now.
If you look at what Kia's transition to electric, they're incredible. Like they make such great cars. And so like at the time it seemed funny because Kia were more of a budget car and like their cars weren't very good looking in a lot of instances. But now they are like they're like crushing it. The logo is funny, but that was also a good thing. But like it was good to change it, right? Because it's like now they have a new brand.
The new logo is pretty bad though.
KN is one.
It's bad.
But yeah, they make great cars. Kia make great cars.
And they are, at least in North America, killing it on the electric car front. A lot of good options from Kia and its sibling brands. 2018 also brought the hire of Doug Field. We talked about this on Connected. He was formerly the SVP of engineering at Tesla, a job that I think later would go to Chris Latner, who invented Swift. He had a short stint in this job at Tesla, or a job like this at Tesla. So Doug Field comes over.
They just high five as they like switch, you know?
Yeah, exactly. In 2019, Apple bought a company called Drive AI. This was an AI self-driving vehicle startup. They, according to reporting at The Verge, were getting ready to go out of business, and Apple scooped them up on the cheap. Apple bought other companies in this time, but this, I think, was maybe one of the most notable ones. Definitely one of the more public ones. Right before COVID, Bob goes back into retirement, and John...
What did he know?
Yeah,
what did he know?
Yeah, as I'm getting out of here, work from home, forget that. I got podcast shower lined up, you know? What do you think Bob listens to in the shower?
The sound of car engines.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. Remember there was also a report, like the Apple owned this building somewhere in California, and people were like, we hear engines racing around at night. It's like, okay.
I don't remember that, but
who knows?
I love that.
Who knows? Dude, I've read so much about Apple's car stuff over the last 2 days. It's just like, my brain is full of it. So John Andrea took over, and then in 2021, it was reported that Kevin Lynch was in charge, so there was a lot of shuffling going on. And in that shuffling, Doug Field from Tesla left and went to Ford, which is now building EVs. A lot of movement. Around this time, a deadline of 2024 was floated. So I guess 2017 didn't work out. 2024, we're gonna do something. And this whole time, right, there's reporting again, Apple's gonna make an electric self-driving car. They had really ambitious goals about the self-driving is broken into levels, like levels 1 through 5. And basically, as you move up the stack, they become more and more aware self-driving.
There were rumors of no steering wheel for a while, right? That was what they wanted to make, a car with no wheel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who would, a yoke or something? No, nothing.
Nothing.
And then there were also reports that, okay, the self-driving stuff is harder than we thought. Who would have guessed? And they were maybe looking at something more like GM Super Cruise, which is really highly reviewed. But Super Cruise self-driving technology only works on highways mapped out by GM and then fed into their system. So it's not like something like Tesla full self-driving where it can kind of do it wherever. And we're not going down that road, just saying that sentence and moving on. GM Super Cruise is only on select highways. And maybe Apple wasn't happy with that. But after all of this, right, this is a very spicy decade-long story. And now Gurman says it's over. A bunch of people are going to go work on AI. No doubt some people will lose their jobs, and that sucks. Especially in the background of all this is this kind of meta story that EV demand in North America is really drying up. And so some of these people, it's a bad time to be let go from a company like this, which is unfortunate. But that's where we are. And I'd love to know what y'all think about it. I definitely have thoughts, but that's kind of the background.
Well, it's a relief to start with. Because now none of us have to buy a car that Apple makes because, right? You think it was bad that we had to buy the Vision Pro.
It was bad, yeah.
Let's start with a $90,000 car, right?
Ugh.
That would have been unfortunate for everybody involved.
Can't
have John ship it to me. That could have been.
Yeah,
cool.
John is the most relieved, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I kind of never really cared for it, so I'm not really, it would have been fun to talk about. There would have been interesting, weird stuff to talk about with this, but it doesn't. I'm kind of happy they're not doing it. I don't think that this was a good idea, to be honest.
I mean, honestly, was this ever really going to happen?
I think there is another timeline where yes, it was going to, but I just think it didn't take off.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I've always felt very ambivalent about the idea of the computer company now making a car.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, there's a, the counter argument would be, but for example, Tesla used to be, brand new company, never made a car before, and then they made a car, and now they are arguably leaders in the EV marketplace. So it is possible for a company that has never done cars before to do cars.
Especially now that cars are just more and more technology than they are motors.
Exactly. But still, I've always felt very would I really drive an Apple car? Would I feel safe? From a company that, makes smartphones and laptops and, now headsets. Okay, now you want me to drive your car?
It's going to drive you, man. That's the whole idea.
I am on the record as a self-driving non-believer. Because I am confident when I say this, it's never going to work in Italy. So, but hey, maybe it works in the American highways. Great. But yeah.
Life's a highway.
Gonna write it all down. But hey, I would like to counterpoint there. I have felt that way too. That the idea of a self-driving car seems bananas. But then I think about large language models, and it feels
it's gonna hallucinate you right off the highway.
No, but if you just think about that technology, right? It's so impressive what it can do. That it can take in a bunch of data and can make something new out of it. And I don't know, there's just something about that advancement in technology makes me feel less skeptical of the idea that a large set of data couldn't achieve that problem.
Have you ever seen a lady in Rome traffic chase you and honking her car at you and chasing you for several minutes?
Well, the self-driving car wouldn't do that, It was not going to honk and chase.
But what I'm saying is that there are some locales where traffic and driving is so wildly unpredictable, and you do things that are arguably, illegal when you're driving, that it is, from my perspective. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Zach, yes, this happened to me.
We all assumed that happened. Either it was happening to you, or you were happening it.
to me. So we're driving. I'm driving. Sylvia's in the passenger seat. The dog's in the back seat, and I'm just driving Sylvia to school. And I start hearing this honk behind me. It must be someone who's upset at somebody else, because I didn't do anything. Right. I was just driving. And the honking persisted, right? It's going and going. And then after a good minute, Sylvia is who's this lady behind us honking at? It's and so I look at the rearview mirror and I see her gesturing very aggressively toward me. She then sort of, she tries to pass me, stops her car, because there was a red light, and she starts yelling at me, and she gets out of the car. So basically, she was, and I just laughed in her face. I didn't even do anything. I just started laughing. She believed that I cut her off at an intersection, which I didn't do, which I absolutely didn't do. So anyway, that was weird, and we had a laugh, and then we just left.
Well, my question, I feel I don't I'm not arguing for this possibility, but like I'm just wondering, like, can you not imagine a future where a computer would be able to reason what to do in that scenario like a human can? Like, why?
No, not here.
You don't think
not
a
here.
computer would ever be able to do that?
I think self-driving can absolutely work on a highway, on a freeway, or on large roads. I don't think it's ever going to be able to figure out how you should live in Rome or in any other city where going downtown or in certain neighborhoods it requires a very special type of human skill, which is improvising.
You think it's a uniquely human thing? And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just like,
I really think it is. I
agree with you that like it feels much more doable on predictable roads.
Yes.
Like where like America is more predictable, right? Like the road infrastructure in Europe is very different because it's older. Yes. And so like it's weird.
Y'all barely have any other Apple features because you're outside of America.
True.
You know, they're never gonna it's gonna be US only forever.
Yep.
Progressive web apps, self-driving, kind of the same.
Exactly.
You know?
Kind of the same thing. You got to drive it on Apple-approved roads, and they're going to take 30% of that pavement.
Of the roads, of the toll booths. All toll booths, 30% of toll booths.
Yeah, I mean, Federico, I think there's definitely something to what you're saying, and that's exactly why this is such a hard problem. And there were people when Apple went into this saying, like, no one else has figured this out. Tesla hasn't figured this out, surely. Like, this is a very hard thing, and these companies have the best people in the world working at them, right? What's the company? Wave. There's other companies out there doing this. I forget the name of it.
Waymo.
Waze is the Google mapping.
Yes.
I think there's something to that. I think there is something also that like they're going to be people there for a long time, maybe not forever because that's a risky bet, but for a long time they're going to be people who want to drive, who enjoy it, right? And will struggle with self-driving. Those people are already struggling with EVs, right? Because they think there's something special about the internal combustion engine and shifting your own gears. Like people are emotional about cars, and I totally get that. And I'm to a degree one of those people.
You're a car guy.
Yeah. I think from the perspective of like Apple doing this, I've got a couple of big thoughts. The first of which is I think we're already seeing the benefit of this failed project, right? One of the things you have to do in a car is a real-time operating system. And that sure seems like something that our one chip Vision Pro image pipeline thing is closely related to, right? Where the timings of things, the absolute certainty that things are going to work 100% of the time has to be present in a car. And the Vision Pro, I think, benefits, if not directly, then indirectly from some of that work. If we were on a slightly different timeline and the car was real, I would imagine that R1 chip would have a counterpart in the car. Probably several counterparts. The C1. We're never going to get to experience it. It's so sad. The bigger thing for me is on the relief side, and I agree with you. Like I read this and I was like, oh, thankfully, like finally we're past this, hopefully. It wasn't so much, even though there was a little bit of like, how do we even talk about this? Because this is our career, right? But this always seemed like a weird fit for Apple, the company. A company that predominantly makes consumer technology devices and now a bunch of services that feed into those devices. If you look at what they make, it's all kind of in that diagram, right? Even from the Vision Pro to the Apple Watch, the Mac, the iPhone, and iPad, they're all different types of computers that do different things. And we and our friends and our community, we get to debate those differences endlessly, and we love it. The car, outside of that, even though the car is more and more a rolling computer, right? Even my pickup truck, which is like internal combustion engine, right? It is not an EV. Even that has some limited like computing stuff going on, right? It can center itself in a lane. It has radar cruise control. It has these other like built-in features, like safety features, right? It knows it's going to stop me before I hit something or before I back into traffic. computers and cars are on a collision course. And it felt weird to me that Apple was going to potentially be the first big tech company to get there, because it just doesn't seem like something they would be good at. How do you sell it? How do you service it? How do you manage the relationship over a long time? We're talking about people with an iPhone for 4 or 5 years, a Mac 5, 6, 7 years. People buy a car and ideally want to keep it for a long, long time. And that's a question all EV makers have to face. And so far, the answers aren't super encouraging. If you're going to try to find like an early Model S from Tesla, or even like a Chevy Volt or Bolt, like older GM electric cars, like there's a lot of questions there. And how is Apple going to be different and be able to manage that relationship over a long time? I just didn't see them being good at it. And so as sad as this news is for the people involved, and that sucks. Like, I'm not trying to not say that, but I think from the 40,000 foot view, this was never going to be a good fit with what Apple's good at. And from that perspective, I'm kind of glad this is the end of the road for this project.
Do we expect that they're going to try and like be more present in cars with CarPlay and stuff like that? Do you think maybe more effort will go into that now, for as much as car companies might want or not?
I don't know about more effort, but one other thing that's related to this is that car manufacturers love control. Look no further than Tesla, Rivian, and GM's electric vehicles, where they're not allowing CarPlay, they're not allowing Android Auto, because they want to control the whole stack and they think it's better. And there are some benefits to that, like the phone experience, not knowing about the battery state of the car and that sort of thing. These things have to be closer together. That is a huge uphill battle for Apple, and one so far that they've been only partially successful at, because they're not on Teslas, they're not on Rivians, they're not on GM electric vehicles. But as hard as that is already, if they were in the marketplace with their own car, game over for CarPlay. I think it would really be hard for them to convince car makers to either get in bed with CarPlay in the first place or to stay there. And now that they're not going to be shipping a car, it seems like, they don't have that additional hurdle. I don't think it means CarPlay is like totally set, ready to go, and like it's going to succeed. But I think it is good for CarPlay in the sense that it keeps Apple's relationship with these other companies a little bit simpler.
Mm. And the reporting that we're mentioning is that a lot of people are now going to move to AI, and they're going to start working on generative AI stuff at Apple instead. The people that are in these teams under Kevin Lynch, under John Giannandrea.
Yeah, Kevin Sandwich.
Yes. I guess that probably makes sense, right?
I think there's a lot of overlap there in terms of computer vision. A lot of the real-time OS stuff may not be extremely applicable to AI, but in terms of optimization and efficiency in computing, all that's good. And so I would imagine that there are things that they were working on there that, the project they were working on may not move over, but the sort of information they have and the sort of experience and knowledge they've gathered, I think could be useful.
Well, goodbye, Apple Car, I guess.
Yeah.
Goodbye. We never knew you.
You know they would have just called it Car, right? As well.
Yeah,
like,
no,
it would have just been called Car.
It would have been
Car.
bad. I'm just going to put my flag in the ground. Like, I really want to know everything about this, and I cannot wait 30 years for the book. I would just love to know what Apple and Johnny Ive and these people thought the future was going to be. I think that does it. If you want to find links to the stuff we spoke about this week, they're in your podcast player. They're also on the web at relay.fm/connected/491. There's a feedback form on the website, and there's a link in your podcast player. To leave us feedback, there's an option to make it anonymous. So if you know more about Project Titan and you want to spill the beans, please let us know. You can also become a member and get Connected Pro, which which is the longer ad-free version of the show each and every week. Like Myke said at the top, we had a really good conversation about Nintendo and emulators and lawsuits, and what a time. If you want more of us, you can find us online. You can find Federico at macstories.net, where he's the editor-in-chief. Some fun stuff coming to Mac Stories.
Yes.
Stay tuned. I'll leave it there. You can follow Myke. Well, you can follow Myke, but I'm talking about Federico right now. You can follow Federico.
No, follow Myke. You can follow Myke.
You can follow Federico as Viticci, Viticci on Threads, and he is Viticci at macstories.net on Mastodon. Maybe ask him for some Italian tips, learn the alphabet with us. You can find Myke on a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM, Upgrade, Cortex, Pen Addict, Thoroughly Considered, Remastered, Analog.
Don't try and list them all, because you'll forget one and then you'll upset someone.
You can also find Myke's work over at Cortex Brand. You can follow Myke online. He is iMyke on Threads and iMyke at myke.social on Mastodon. You can find me online on Threads as ISMH86 and ISMH at eworld.social on Mastodon. You can find my writing on 512pixels.net, and I co-host Mac Power Users here on Relay FM. We have new episodes each and every Sunday. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, ZocDoc and Squarespace. And until next time, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
F? Is that it?
Yes.
F?
Bye, y'all.